Greetings, everybody. I am Young Penitent, and you are in my icon corner. I'd like to welcome everybody today, and I would also like to welcome my guest, who is Joseph Sciambra, who's got a story to tell, and he has a organization in which he works with young men who are struggling, young Christian men who are struggling with the passion of homosexuality, and he helps them to overcome this passion and to leave a life of sin. And so I thought that he has some interesting things to say. And so I invited him on. I'll bring him on shortly. Before we do that, please hit the like button, subscribe to my channel, because that's just what people do. And with that, I will add him to the stage.
Hey.
Welcome, Joseph.
Thank you.
Glad to have you.
Thank you.
I guess I'd like to just get started with, you have a story, which, I mean, that sounds, it kind of is I don't know if this is a kind of an exceptional story, but I've heard you talk about it on several other podcasts. Some people who are watching are familiar with it, but others are not. But it seems like an exceptional story, kind of wild almost, to me. So would you mind telling us your story and how you got started with this online ministry that you have?
Sure. The ministry that I've had is kind of, it was more active when I was Roman Catholic.
Could you put the mic just a little bit closer for me?
How's that?
That's better. Thank you.
How's that? Yeah,
now I'm hearing your breath on it. Maybe a little down, and yeah, I think we're okay.
How's that?
Okay, there you go.
Is that good?
Yeah, that's good.
Okay. Let me know if you got any problem with it. The ministry part of it is I'm not real active with it in terms of.
Okay.
When I was Roman Catholic, I did. It was much more because I'm so new in Orthodoxy. It's only been not even 2 years. I haven't done much ministry, and I have to say, in Orthodoxy, there's not as much a need as there is in Roman Catholicism. I haven't noticed because, like theologically and dogmatically, I think Orthodoxy's been pretty clear on matters of homosexuality. It's pretty confusing in Catholicism, especially lately. So I think there's people in Roman Catholicism that have a lot of questions. I haven't seen that in Orthodoxy. It's pretty straightforward.
Okay, so the teaching of the church the Catholic Church is confusing people. Is that what you're saying? Are they sending mixed messages, or?
Well, like pastorally, in Roman Catholicism, it's kind of all over the place.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
I mean, especially now, because like you have priests that bless same-sex couples and stuff like that. I mean, but that's been going on for a long time. But before Pope Francis, so there's been a lot of confusion in the Catholic Church about where it stands in terms of homosexuality. There's certain things that are said in the Catechism, but there's been priests and bishops too that have said that those things are up for debate and would probably change in the near future, and I mean, looks like they were right too. So I don't know. There's not so much of a need in Orthodoxy.
Okay, so could you maybe lay out for people who don't know the teaching? What does the Orthodox Church say about this matter?
Well, you probably know better than I, but I mean, it's similar to Catholic official teaching in the Catechism, which is, the homosexual acts are a grave sin and they can't be permitted. You can't have same-sex marriage, and so those things are all prohibited. I don't know about the. I mean, I haven't seen any type of same-sex marriage blessings in Orthodoxy, like you've had
Right.
in Catholicism recently. I haven't seen that.
Okay.
Yeah. So I mean, I think Catholicism officially and Orthodoxy teach this pretty much very similar things officially on homosexuality. Now, what takes place in the Catholic Church pastorally is a lot different. I mean, I haven't seen any like pride flags or, gay masses, or you guys don't call it, or I shouldn't say you guys. The Orthodox don't call it a mass. I mean, you don't have like gay liturgies or anything like that.
Is that something that they do they do gay? What is a gay mass, or what is that? What would that be?
Well, they'll have like a pride mass.
Really?
Yeah. So, I mean, in June, so for just the pride festivities, they'll have a special pride mass where the gay Catholic community gets together, has a mass. They'll pray for their special intentions.
That would make me so upset. I'm going to tell you. Yesterday, I went into a clinic. I had a doctor's appointment, and there were pride flags everywhere.
Oh dear!
And there was one in there's a little cup for the pens, and they had a pride flag in the cup for pens. And I took it out. I didn't want to touch it even. I didn't even want to touch it. So I took a pen, and I flicked it out of the cup, and I stomped on it with my boot.
Oh dear!
And because I couldn't help myself. And then I had my appointment, and when I left, I made a comment to the provider I was seeing that this is offensive to me, and I got quite upset. I couldn't really contain myself, and if that was happening in my parish, in my church, I think it's safe to say it would be better for me not to. I wouldn't want to go inside because I'd be afraid of another such outburst. It is really upsetting to me, and it actually concerns me that I can't control myself so much. My reaction.
Yeah.
I get upset. I get visibly angered by it.
Well, Orthodoxy hasn't had the incremental steps towards this like Catholicism. Catholicism's had a long not progression, but a lot of incremental steps towards gay blessings. So it's not like it's been foisted and it's new. There's been gay ministries and LGBT ministries and that kind of stuff. A lot of priests who have been activists for the LGBT community. I mean, there's a famous one right now, but there's been a bunch before him in the Catholic Church, so it's not new.
We do have a comment from OBG says the Fortumites are trying, and I guess this is a school that teaches liberal progressive theology or something. I'm not entirely sure, something like that, and they're trying to bring it into the Orthodox Church, but people are vigilant, and they're basically resisting it. I think hopefully they're being successful,
Well, Fordham is a Catholic university.
Is that what it is?
Jesuit. It's a Jesuit run in New York City, and the Jesuits are usually at the center of a lot of this stuff. So, I wasn't aware when I was Catholic of that Orthodox connection, but I did become aware of it after I became Orthodox or before, but a little before. But it didn't surprise me that the Jesuits were, tapping into everything because they've destroyed the Catholic Church. Now they're working on something else.
Okay, so I kind of got you off. So you were born Catholic, I assume. Is that right?
Yeah. Roman,
and then so I guess you had a story where you were abused, right?
Yeah.
I want to warn people. This is might be for sensitive ears. Be careful. But and then that abuse you think led you to identify as gay later on. Is that how it worked out? Could you
Yeah,
maybe?
sure. I won't give any details. Yeah,
Okay.
I was abused by a Catholic priest when I was a boy, and then but the majority of men who later come out as gay actually were sexually abused as boys by men. So it's not unusual that somebody who's been same-sex molested as a boy later comes out as gay. It's not strange. So yeah, that happened. And then at the time I didn't put those two things together, being sexually abused and identifying as gay, but later I have, they have a lot to do with one another, one causes the other. So but most people haven't thought about that. I mean, a lot of men that identify as gay have experiences before they were 18 with other men, but they don't consider it as abuse or molestation. And that's another story. That's another problem.
Oh, okay.
But that's common, unfortunately. So I don't remember what your question was.
Well, just your story. This is kind of an open story. I mean, an open-ended question, but tell us your story, how you got to where you are. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I lived as a gay man from I was about 18 to I was about 29, so about 11 years. And then I left. I had a conversion. I don't know. You can't really say it's a conversion through Catholicism, because the Catholic Church really didn't have anything to do with it. But because I had been raised Catholic, and that was really the only church I knew, it seemed kind of, I don't know, kind of made sense to go back to the Catholic Church. I didn't know any other Christian churches particularly. I mean, in San Francisco, there is the Russian Orthodox Church, which I sort of knew of, but I mean, I didn't know anybody that was Orthodox, and I didn't know anything really about it. So I just went to the Catholic Church.
Okay.
Which, I mean, in hindsight, was probably not the greatest thing to do, because for 20 years it was hard dealing not only as somebody that had identified as gay, but as an abuse survivor. It was pretty bad. There's a lot of problems in the Catholic Church. I mean, on those two that have to deal with those two issues.
Why is it such an issue in the Catholic Church? It is an issue, right? It's kind of the abuse stuff.
Well, I mean, specifically with boys and, teenage boys, or the abuse of, seminarians or young men, because, like Richard Sipe, who was an expert on a lot of this stuff in the Catholic Church, he put the percentage of gay priests at about 30%. But then there was another guy that was an expert as well. What's his name? Donald Cousins. They both wrote books about the topic. They're both dead. He put the number at over 50%. I mean, even if you take Richard Sipe's number at 30, that's like an overrepresentation, because, I mean, gay guys at the most are about 4%. I mean, that's at the most 4% of like the general population. So if you've got a group of people and you've got them at 30, that's like crazy. So, I mean, to give them the benefit of the doubt, not all of them are predators, but a lot of them are, So, and then because you have the forced celibacy I'm going down this rabbit hole, because you've got the forced celibacy among the priesthood in Roman Catholicism, if, priests are sexually active, and whether it's with a man or a woman or a child, I mean, there's an incentive to cover up for each other and it happened, and it still goes on. I mean, I think a lot of it has to do with the celibacy issue.
Okay, gotcha.
So I don't know if that helps, but I mean, that's kind of where I was for 20 years in the Catholic Church. Just like, I mean, initially, just it was my own personal spiritual, health that I was looking at, because you need a good priest, and you need a good spiritual foundation and a good spiritual father to help you. But if the Catholic Church and the priests aren't together on this, it's hard to find any help. And I mean, not that all the priests were horrible. I mean, there certainly were good priests that did help me out. I wouldn't have stayed for 20 years, but the priests that were good had a hard time.
I can see that.
Yeah, and that becomes discouraging too, because you become friends with the priest, and then you see that they're being persecuted and they're having a hard time. So it's kind of like, why the hell should I stay here? And then, and then they have to toe the line to a certain degree, and then they also have to keep quiet about stuff.
Okay.
In order to remain priests. I mean, we're seeing right now what happens to Catholic priests and bishops and cardinals who don't do that.
What do they get? There's
one. Yeah, there's one right now. I see an archbishop or a cardinal, Archbishop Vigano. Oh, yeah, I think they're ready to axe him, and I mean they did that with Bishop Strickland in Texas before, and then but then I've just known priests that have been axed, not because they did anything wrong, it's just because they spoke out about stuff in the church, and you just can't do that. So I mean, even if what they're saying is true, you can't do that. So
okay.
So I left.
So you left so you had a conversion, and you came back to the Catholic Church, and you started to practice chastity?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And did you have some help with that, or at that time? Or
help?
Like from a priest, with someone?
Sure. Yeah. I met quite a few good priests, but I have to say I can't tell their story because some of them aren't around. But things didn't turn out well for them.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then you left. You said you left.
Around 2018, I had made the decision to go. But then 2019 is when I really made the decision to convert, but then COVID hit, and here in San Francisco, the churches were all closed most of 2020.
Oh, okay. So you decided to convert from Catholicism to Orthodoxy.
Right.
How did you run into Orthodoxy?
I would say, probably through the cathedral, and then St. John Maximovich, and then vis-a-vis through him, Father Seraphim Rose.
Okay, good.
Well, of course, I didn't know, but just his life is an example. So.
Oh, right.
Yeah. Because he died in 81 or 82, so I was a little kid.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. So I was looking at your website. I'll just show it to people just so they can see it. This is your website, Sons of St. Joseph.
Yeah.
And there's St. Joseph, and with carrying the Christ child, I see. Is that
correct? Correct.
And
yes, a very Western image.
You have you're very. I mean, you have a lot of blog articles. You have a YouTube channel.
Yeah.
A lot going on.
Yeah.
I think I want to ask a question about. This is interesting. The way you use terms. I think, like you say here, no one is born gay, and on this website, you're always using gay in brackets. which I want to dig into this. So, like, do you like, so if a person experiences same-sex attraction, you don't think that person should identify or think of themselves as gay. Is that right?
I wouldn't, but they can do what they want. Yeah. I mean, yeah, just because you're attraction of the same sex doesn't mean you're gay.
Right.
But I mean, they would probably consider themselves gay. Well, most do, yeah, or bi or whatever.
Okay. And
Yeah.
even but what I mean, even a person who's a Christian who will be struggling against this, right? Well,
Mhm.
it's in the best of all worlds, you know.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, and they're experiencing same-sex attraction, you wouldn't want that you wouldn't advise that person. Let's say, because you do counseling with
No.
no counseling. Okay, so but in your writings and
Mhm.
what you say,
Mhm.
you don't think that like gay is even a like an ontological reality. Is that correct?
Mm,
Like it's not even a thing, really.
I I agree.
So nobody is gay.
I agree.
I think that's a good message.
There's the there's the childhood survivors of abuse, but they're not gay. If I'm around people, like when I used to do outreach, I'm not going to get an argument with them about that.
Sure,
You know?
sure, sure.
I mean, that's I just can't start there. But no, I don't. I wouldn't call anybody gay.
Okay.
I would try not to do that.
All
I
right.
don't think I've ever done that. Maybe God forgive me if I have. But I don't. Yeah, I don't wouldn't call myself gay. People say ex-gay, which is weird. It's like, but I don't know.
Okay.
What do you
And,
say?
and so a couple common questions that people come up with around this issue is like, for example, are you born gay? What
No,
would you tell people about that?
no. There's no evidence that
No
anyone.
evidence.
No, no, no. Everything is to the contrary. That it looks like it's it looks like it's a trauma response. That's what it looks like. Now, the abuse issue is predominant in the same-sex abuse issues predominant in men. Interestingly, with the lesbians, you have opposite sex abuse as children,
Okay.
but there's like a gender identity disorder there as well. So it often has to do with men. It has to do with alienation from the father or a bad relationship with the father, or also a weird enabling, codependent, dysfunctional relationship with the mother.
Hmm.
And and with the women, it's a little different. Usually, I mean, sometimes it's just the opposite, where with the women they have a a, an, a relationship with their mother that is dysfunctional. So,
Interesting.
so it's a lot there. They have not. I mean, they've looked and they've spent a lot of money looking for a gay gene, but they haven't found it. Even with the twin studies, which I think kind of confirmed that there's no gay gene, because identical twins share the same genes, the same DNA, and in the majority of cases with twins where one is gay, the other is not.
Okay. Yeah,
So that's a problem.
that was actually my next question. So why do people say that there's a genetic basis for being gay? Where do they get
Well,
that from?
well, then I mean, everything falls apart if you're not born gay. I mean, gay marriage, Obergefell, falls apart because you don't have to marry somebody of the same sex. You're not born that way.
Okay.
You're not born. I mean, the whole thing falls apart if you're not born gay.
Okay. So it's important to the agenda.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's not like race. People have, or hair color or eye color. People have no control over that. That's you're just born that way.
Right.
But sexual orientation, there's no evidence
Okay.
that anyone is born with a certain sexual orientation. There's nothing there. And people that say there is are lying, because there isn't anything there. But they gotta, and most people buy it.
They got to keep up the lie.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you ask most, I mean, because I do kind of, I do go always back to this issue. A lot of Christians, I haven't noticed it so much in Orthodoxy, but a lot of Catholics believed that people were born gay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. Most that I did believe that. So of course, if somebody's born a certain way, you have to make special,
Right.
considerations. You have to have an LGBT, ministry for them, because they were born that way, and you got to bless their relationships because they were born that way. So, and the next step is you got to marry them. So.
Yeah. And how's that working out?
Well, the churches that have done that, the bottoms dropped out. So, with the Anglicans and the Presbyterians, and yeah, they're having a lot of problems.
Yeah, I actually have a relative who is in a gay marriage. He does not seem very happy to me. He seems very discontent. So he got into this maybe thinking it would make him happy, but I don't see that working out for him.
Well, the studies are weird because the LGBT activists are good at concealing stuff. It doesn't look like after Obergefell, which we're going on 10 years, a lot of gay people haven't gotten married. I think it looked like about 12% are married. So it's pretty low if you're looking
12%?
at.
Okay.
Yeah, and I would say the majority of those are women.
Oh, interesting. What is
Obergefell was the Supreme Court decision in 2015, which legalized same-sex marriage.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah, so I would say the percentage of gay men that are married I can't say it's 6%. Maybe it's like 4 or 5.
Oh, okay.
So they are not getting married.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
Yeah, they're not getting married.
Okay, so
they don't have any interest in getting married either.
So tell me about this. Your organization, Sons of Saint Joseph. How did that start? Where did you get that idea from?
It was just kind of like a clearinghouse, just kind of for information, especially when I was Catholic, just to kind of help people out. I kind of wanted to steer people away from certain parishes that were very gay affirmative. So like in the Catholic Church, if you got like a gay ghetto, like if you know what that is, like the Castro or West Hollywood or Greenwich Village, neighborhoods in the cities or Boys Town in Chicago, or where there's a lot of gay people. So there's always parishes there or near there, and they're very gay affirmative. So I was just kind of like helping people out and say, well, don't go there. And initially I was trying to guide people like towards the TLM, like the traditional Latin Mass, because that seemed to be pretty solid. Where, and I don't know, it's weird. In Catholicism, it tended to look like people that were more liturgically traditional were also more like morally and theologically traditional. So I was trying to guide people towards that.
Okay.
I don't know how successful I was, but I mean, I did try to kind of talk to different bishops and stuff about being more faithful to teaching in terms of, pastoring towards people like this, but that didn't really go anywhere. So
Really?
The problem is in the Catholic Church, you have these LGBT ministries, and then you get a lot of gay people together, and then it becomes an activist group that starts pushing, I mean, this is kind of what the whole Fordham thing is that it just becomes a pressure group to, push for change in whether it's the Catholic Church or the Orthodox Church.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, that's one thing that I've warned the Orthodox about is don't start LGBT, ministries.
Right.
It's a bad idea. Just don't do it. Welcome people who are same-sex attracted, help them, but do it on an individual basis. Don't put them in groups with other LGBT people, because then you're just going to have an activist group on your hands pretty soon.
All right.
That are going to be pushing for gay marriage and everything else, which is the problem in the Catholic Church.
So when you were approaching leaders in the Catholic Church, were you talking to them personally? Were you writing letters, or what was your approach?
Initially, it probably was, like try to formally contact people, but that don't work.
Just didn't hear back?
Oh, no. So what you do is, for lack of a better word, you just sort of ambush them. I turned up at ordinations or whatever kind of events and say, "Hey, Your Excellency, did you get my letter?" And of course they did. They know exactly who you are. So, and that's kind of where Sons of St. Joseph started, because I started writing about a lot of this stuff too. Just initially as like warning people, like, don't go to Most Holy Redeemer or whatever in San Francisco or whatever. And that got the hierarchy's attention, because the laity was seeing, I don't know, Catholic laity is kind of weird. They get outraged, but then they forget about it. But they got their attention, at least, because people were seeing, trans this and drag mass and it's all this outrageous stuff going on, and it still goes on. I don't care anymore because I'm not Catholic. I care for the people there. I don't care about the church.
Okay.
The people there, I have a heart for, because, there's a lot of good people in the Catholic Church. Among the laity, the clergy and the hierarchy, I can't figure it out. I can't figure it out.
Okay. Yeah.
They've convinced themselves that they're doing good.
Right. Yeah. I mean, there's some Catholic people I know that I would consider a pious Catholic who, at least they believe, even if they're believing what the church teaches them and the church is wrong in many cases, at least they have this, faith. I think the faith that they have is admirable,
Correct. Correct.
So you have this organization, you have this website, and so people have you helped anybody over the years? Did people come to you who wanted to leave the lifestyle that they were leaving?
Mm-hmm. I have, yeah.
And how did that go? What did you do? What was your approach?
I used to go to I didn't do much in LA, a little bit, but mainly in San Francisco. I went to like Pride, which is the biggest. I always tell people it is the largest gathering of LGBT people in the world. They get over 1 million people for that. So it's bigger than the population of San Francisco. So I used to just go with the big signs and, Jesus loves you, or, whatever. No, I don't do like God hates that's
right.
So, because I don't know what the point of that is, but I just went with the big signs, and people would come up to me and you start talking, and I hand out literature, and people can go home and read it if they want, or they can throw it in the garbage, and I did make friends with people that over the years, because I did that for way over 10 years. And I never went back after COVID. Because I became Orthodox, and I don't know. I don't. It's not an issue in Orthodoxy. I haven't seen it as an issue, and I think it's because you have the married priesthood, and you don't have the LGBT ministries.
Right.
So, and I'm kind of glad to get away from that part of it. Although I do online, I do minister to people still, and I enjoy it. Yeah.
Okay, so but what is your approach to try to help someone who
Oh,
struggles with same-sex
okay.
attraction?
I hear you.
Because this is
Yeah.
I've heard that it is like one of the most difficult demons, you know, once you get started, I guess I've heard that it's one of the most difficult passions to overcome.
Mm, I
I
agree.
mean,
Yeah, I
was it
agree.
hard for you? Well, I mean, what was your
Yeah,
experience?
yeah, it was difficult. I think the longer you're in it and the older you are, the more difficult it is to get out.
Mhm.
And I think it's not likely you're going to get out. I hate to say it. Um, I think most people need to have a kind of hit rock bottom.
Okay.
It's kind of like people that are on drugs.
Yeah.
Like they'll keep doing it, and actually they'll like keep getting worse. You know,
Hmm.
they'll go from like, you know, they'll start out with marijuana and then do cocaine or whatever, and then do
Right. Right.
heroin or whatever, and that's why I advise. I mean, a lot of ministry too in this area is you're dealing with families of people who are gay. I mean, sometimes you're dealing with the person themselves, but they're so caught up in the life and the identity. I should say, not the life, the identity, that you know they can't see through it. But you talk a lot with family, like the mom and dads that have a gay son, and I always recommend just don't enable.
Okay.
Welcome them at home, but like for example, they can't have their boyfriend over
Okay.
because I mean, if you accept that, then you're going to be invited to the wedding,
Sure.
and then you're going to be invited to the baby shower when they have a test tube baby or buy a baby.
Oh, okay.
So
Gotcha.
don't go down that road.
Don't
They're
don't go to the wedding. Don't have them.
Oh, God forbid.
Yeah.
No. Oh, it's over.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and if they hate you and they don't want to speak to you, then so be it.
I,
You might not see them for 10 years. That's a lot to ask. Most parents aren't going to do that. Most
Yeah.
parents are going to fold and say, bring Bob home.
Right.
You know,
Right.
and of course they're going to be sleeping in the same room.
Oh,
You
geez.
know, because if you ask them to sleep in separate beds, you know, forget it. That's enough. Because I mean, gay people will do this. I did this kind of BS myself. You know, if you sense that somebody is not an ally, you know, you're going to put out these little tests. You know, I'm coming home and I'm bringing so and so, and you better treat them like, you know, that's my fiance or whatever. And we're sleeping in the same room. And if you challenge me on that, then I'm going to punish you. You know, because there's a lot of backstory with people in their families. You know, and I mean, sometimes the dad, if he's around, he'll sit in the corner and not say anything and just be pissed off. And the mother is usually much more enabling.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Mothers just want to love the child.
Yeah. Right.
And there's also an incentive for people with a gay kid to not address the dysfunction in the family, because if you think about your son and say, well, what did I do wrong when I raised him as a father? Or what did I do wrong as a mother? Or was he sexually abused? I mean, that opens up, you know, a lot of dark places, and people don't want to go there. They would just rather be unicorns and rainbows. And so it's a lot. People won't go there. I mean, people that do interventions with drug addicts have the same things a lot of times, because a lot of times that person that's an addict, I mean, there's a reason why they're an addict. They just didn't wake up one day with a needle in their arm. You know, something got them on that path, and it was usually trauma or abuse.
Oh, okay.
You know, so it's a lot. but people, it's accepted nowadays. You
Right.
know?
So families can be helpful then. They can
It's a double-edged sword. They can be helpful. They
or
can be,
harmful. Okay.
or
Yeah.
they can be harmful. Yeah.
Like, I mean, there's a similar thing in the mental health community where, families, they're the ones that reach out and ask for help. They'll, for example, like the NAMI is an organization that National Alliance on Mental Illness, which mainly ministers to families, who are, oh, my son just,
Mm.
got an illness. And so what do I do? They want to know, what do I do?
Mm.
So I guess there's a parallel. I mean, I imagine prayer is probably our uh, best weapon, obviously, but that's kind of obvious. Praying for the person.
Oh, of course.
Why is it so difficult for people to leave that lifestyle?
Well, because it's a community. It's not. That's like the difference between like being an addict, like a drug addict, or being gay. I mean, because it's a lifestyle, and it's an identity. I mean, people, I think, like addiction or like drug addiction or alcoholism isn't an identity. I mean, it can take over your identity, but in the gay community, it's a community. You've got, I mean, you think of it like geographically, gay people kind of tend to congregate in certain cities like San Francisco. And then they have their own political action, activism committees. They have their own forms of entertainment, like Logo or Bravo or whatever else.
What is that? Boat?
Logo or Bravo. Those are heavily gay. Oh.
I don't know.
They're networks. But I mean, my age, you had your own magazines. You had, your own. I mean, especially now, you've got like gay movies, and they tend to obsess over certain celebrities, whether it's Beyonce or whoever. So it's a whole community. I mean, especially on the internet, I can see where like children that are alienated or neglected or whatever and don't know where they belong, or and they're vulnerable. So there's a community here,
Right.
that like
Welcomes
welcomes and
you.
affirms you and says, well, you're feeling weird or whatever because of A, B, and C. And then it's like, well, hey, here I am, I'm home. And I mean, I felt that way too. I mean, for me, it wasn't online. I went to the neighborhood, and then it's like, oh, I'm with other people that understand me and accept me and don't judge me.
It's like a spider.
But it's also trauma bonding, because you've got people there that who have similar backgrounds to you, and you get together. It's a big mess, because then you all start having sex with each other. It's a mess. It's terrible,
Sounds like a spider web. They're trying to catch you in their web.
True. You need new people. You always need new people.
So why did you choose Saint Joseph for the patron saint of your?
Well, it's my given name, so it's also the name I took in Orthodoxy as well. Well, I didn't take it as given to me by God, so it's just a good example. I think a lot of, especially I don't, in my ministry, and I still don't. I don't talk to many women or families that have lesbian or gay woman in their family. But I think St. Joseph is a good example for men, just in general.
Oh, okay.
So, and I think he's a good fatherly example. And I think a lot of guys that grow up to be gay lacked that. So, the Orthodoxy is a good place, because I think there's a lot of good examples of men who are like St. Joseph. So within the clergy. So I think in the Catholic Church, it's difficult. It's a difficult needle to thread. Maybe a few of them have done it, but
Okay. Let's see. What was my next? I was thinking of a question. So let's say a person leaves the gay lifestyle, and then maybe what are the chances that they'll be able to go on and have like a normal life and start a family and that kind of thing? Is that a likely possibility for those people?
Was somebody the opposite sex?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I know guys that have done it.
Mm-hmm.
So it is possible. I think, again, it depends on when you get out. I think I think it's more likely with somebody who's younger and got out early with less experience. I think the longer you're in it, I think it's more difficult. I mean, I think with me, it was a little tough. I'd been in it for a long time. And I think it depends on the level of abuse that I think, I mean, neglect and is a form of abuse, but physical abuse and sexual abuse is tough. It's a tough, because you're dealing with that, So it is possible. I know guys who have moved on and met a woman who, they were open and honest with about their past, and then went on and had a family.
Okay.
So who can deny it? Yeah.
I was reading over your website, and it said that you have written about the occult.
Oh, yeah.
What is your experience? I wasn't aware of that. Do you have some experience in the occult, or what is your knowledge about it, or what is that about?
Yeah, I got into the New Age because I came out in the like late 80s, early 90s. So it was kind of like a lot. There was like a big New Age, I think, and it was in Berkeley too, where I was living. So, and then of course I got into psychedelics and all that stuff, and Terrence McKenna and all that weird stuff. And there was I think because I think generally like LGBT people tend to be like spiritual, but not particularly religious. So I think there's a lot of that going on there. So I got into it. It wasn't weird. So, and the deeper you get into like the New Age, and then New Age is like a gateway drug, and then you get into other stuff. You get into witchcraft and occult and.
Oh wow! Did you get into that stuff?
Or? Oh sure.
Really?
Sure.
Yeah. I just interviewed a woman. Justine Alter has a book out, and it was like I read her book. She was into the occult. She was like doing magic spells, and she saw demons, and she had like her spiritual eye was open to this demonic realm, so she could see demons. Like every day she would see demons, and anyhow, I read her book. It was quite eye-opening. I didn't know that there's like a whole world out there I wasn't even aware of all these people who are doing these spells. And
that's been going on for forever.
It's hidden, but it's hidden. You don't see it. I mean, it's not like
not in San Francisco. It's very out in the open.
Oh, really?
Not in Berkeley. No, very out in the open. I mean, I used to go to like occult stores, or I mean, they were like New Age, but you could just buy all kinds of stuff. Spell books, Aleister Crowley, whoever, Anton LaVey, so.
It's wild.
Yeah, to me, it wasn't strange at all. No, it was very, it wasn't strange. I mean, I knew Wicca people. I knew all kinds of I knew pagans, all kinds of like dark stuff, Satanists. Yeah, I got in all that stuff,
I never understood why someone would become a Satanist, because Satan is like I guess they have their reasons, but Satan being a character out of the Bible who obviously is you know, going to the bottomless pit, and you want to follow someone that's going to the bottomless pit. I don't know why anyone would do that in their right mind, but okay.
Well, yeah, it's complicated. I mean, in like the Anton LaVey kind of school of Satanism, it's sort of like it's about rebellion and you know, self-will and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It's not so much about the you know, the person of the devil or God or anything like that.
Oh, it's more about yourself, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's kind of like Aleister Crowley too.
Okay, gotcha.
All that kind of stuff. Do as thou wilt and all that stuff. So, yeah, it's complicated.
Let's see. And if anyone is watching, I mean, I see we have 40 people watching. I mean, you guys can, that's more than I usually get. But if people have questions for Joseph, you know, feel free to leave them in the chat. Because I'm running out of questions here. And so and when the questions are over, then the interview will end. So, one more question I have here is, I read a statistic recently that like something like 50% of the kids in high school today identify as LGBT.
I think I'd read that as well.
Did you read that? I mean, what do you think? What are your thoughts on that? That seems. Boy, things have changed.
I don't believe it that they. I just don't believe it that they're actually. I mean, they could say that in a quiz or a questionnaire and say, "Well, that's how I identify," but is that how they actually live their life? No.
Right.
Because I mean, I ran into people at Pride that were like acting a certain way, but I was like, well, are you? They're just playing. They're just playing around. It's like, you know, play acting.
They're just not answering truthfully, or they're trying to be in like on the in crowd or something like that. Is it like cool now or something? I don't know.
Well, sure. I think I think with women, I think there's more of a fluidity there. I've seen a lot of women that have left. A lot lesbianism, not as many men. Men, it seems to be, you know, tougher. But I wonder how many of those did they break that down by gender? How many are female or male? I mean, I bet a lot of them are female that maybe are identifying as bisexual or
gotcha,
something like that, or non-binary or something. I think the boys would probably be much less likely to identify as bi or non-binary or something like that, or gay.
So I mean, but it's still even if it's half that, that's just very concerning for me for the future of our countries.
But all this is downstream from like Madonna in the 80s and 90s, and then you have like Lady Gaga and Katy Perry. So you have people that all that downstream from I Kissed a Girl and I liked it and all that stuff.
Oh, is that what you said? Okay.
Yeah, so it's not a big deal for them to play act at that. It's just, right. Or maybe as an older generation to say, well, I identify as gay, it's a more thoughtful response. I don't know. I mean, in the 80s, it wasn't cool to be gay because it was during AIDS. And even in the 90s, I mean, people, even if they were gay, they didn't want to identify that way. But I mean, now it's different, you know, because you got celebrities and people that sing about it. And, you know, it's a different environment.
Right.
So,
but, you know, it seems like this is, it doesn't seem like there's any way that this is natural. You know, like if you just let people be, I don't think it was, you know, it seems like this is maybe something that's being pushed on us by people, you know, who want to destroy moral Christian society, you know, like people, I don't know, people have some certain people, nefarious dark figures, you know, in the shadows are trying to make people act this way.
True. There's a lot of grooming. There's a lot of brainwashing in schools. There's just a lot of bad parents too.
Bad parents
as well. I mean, kids shouldn't have much or any access to social media. So
good point.
it's there's a lot of blame to go around. You know.
And they're flying pride flags on our schools now. So
Oh yeah.
in this month, the gay month, and
well, schools are out usually.
right.
So
But now, no, I just had a thought. Like, their kids are going out for their summer vacation, right? And right before they go, they hoist the gay flag and say, "Have a good summer, kids."
You get a good dose of pride. But I think that's, I forget what month is Gay History Month, but I'm sure that
Wait, they have a.
oh yeah, there's a Gay History Month.
Oh
I
my
forget what
goodness.
month it is, but I'm sure that in the schools that, I mean, this goes, I don't know about public schools that much because didn't have my ear to the ground that much on that, but I know that in Catholic schools they do this stuff just as part of curriculum, just LGBT history. So I mean, just it is what it is, I guess you could find a school district. I mean, that's why I guess people, should get involved in the PTA or their school district and
know what's going on.
Yeah, find out what. Well, people should just homeschool.
Yeah, yeah.
But I don't trust anybody. I don't trust the public schools, and I don't trust parochial religious schools. I mean, there's good ones. I'm sure there's Orthodox churches that run. There's one in San Francisco, and I'm sure they're not teaching any gay stuff. But you got to be very careful, and you got to watch. So parents have to be involved. But the good parents that are involved, typically, aren't going to have kids that have these issues. It's the kids that don't have attentive parents that are going to fall prey to this stuff, that are going to be vulnerable to these things. So, it's sad. It's sad. It's tragic.
Okay, so those are my questions.
Cool.
But I do, one last question. Can you maybe leave us, I mean, can be kind of depressing. Give us a message of hope, maybe to the people who are watching out there.
Okay. Yeah. You mentioned that. Pray for people that are caught up with this false notion of their identity. Pray for them. Because it does work. I had a lot of people praying for me when I was involved in this crazy stuff. And even if you're not in touch with them, or they're mad at you, or they've disowned you, or whatever, still pray for them and offer up, those prayers and those sacrifices and whatever sorrows in your heart. And I know that's for a lot of parents. And but just maintain truth. You got to do that, because I think people do get fed up with that identity, but they need a place to go. And if everybody in the family's on board, or because I thought about this a lot, because I had friends that their lives didn't go well, and I think what the difference sometimes between myself and them is that they didn't have people that pushed up against this stuff. So they didn't have anywhere to go. Thank God my parents never bought, especially my father, never bought into this stuff.
Okay.
Yeah. So people need somewhere to go when they get fed up, whether it's a family or a friend or a church. Like, God forbid, and it happens, people that are LGBT go to the Catholic Church. My gosh, they're really going to be led down the yellow brick road, really a mess. So, yeah, and I hope that people go to Orthodoxy, because I think Orthodoxy has maintained the tradition of not only the liturgy, but I think so have a united front. Stop all this bickering online too, because I think when people watch, I think social media, can turn people off sometimes and say, oh, I don't want to, I don't want to check into this because there's too much.
Gotcha.
There's too much contention and there's too much back and forth. I have to say that I think this is related. I have to say that if I had come to Orthodoxy maybe through social media, I think it would have bothered me because I don't like a lot of what goes on. But see, thank God I came through to Orthodoxy through the cathedral, through like a one-on-one experience. So I walked into the cathedral and the priests were good to me. And so I think, yeah, social media is bad on a lot of levels. I think if somebody's interested in Orthodoxy, I think it's always best to go to the local parish and talk to the priest.
That's good advice. Yeah.
I think it is.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think there's too much there.
Yeah.
Because my experiences with the Orthodox clergy have been, I think they're good men, and I think they have a heart. I think because, well, all the ones that I've known have been fathers, and I think they've dealt with things in their own lives and their own families, and I think they can relate, and that's something really missing in Catholicism. I don't think you can underemphasize that. There's just a level of understanding there that they have, that if you want to learn about sailing, you talk to somebody that's crossed the Pacific Ocean or something.
Absolutely.
You don't talk to just somebody that studied it.
Right.
I mean, they have something to share, but the experience is important. So you go to your local parish. It's funny because Orthodox priests, here they are, they have a wife and they have children usually, and they're busy, but they seem to be much more available than Catholic priests who don't have a wife and don't have children. It's because I think men who are fathers and husbands, I think they know how to manage their time. They know how to work around stuff. So I'm confident that if you contact an Orthodox parish, a priest will talk to you. We'll find the time to talk to you. And if you contact a Catholic, I'm not sure if that's going to happen. God forbid if you're LGBT, please don't go to a Catholic church, because it's a crapshoot. It really is. You could get a priest that is going to steer you right, but I think 9 out of 10 times you're not. You're going to find one that's going to say, meet somebody, settle down, be monogamous, and I'll come to the church and I'll bless you. That's what you're going to find. So don't go that route.
Yeah, that would not be helpful.
Well, I mean, for some people, that's what they want to hear. So,
right.
And then some people that are, I don't know, maybe naive or just desperate, that'll sound pretty good. Because, I mean, I did get that advice at one time that you need to settle down and be monogamous, and people that sounds like a rational sort of alternative to being, out in the scene. So a lot of people do go that way, and it's not good. It's not good.
And finally, how can people find you if they want online or
my website? Yeah. So I got Joseph Sciambra. It's easy, josephsciambra.com. But then it's also sonsofstjoseph.com.
Oh, okay.
So they'll both work. And then I'm on Twitter, and then I'm also on Facebook. I'm working with Orthodox priests, actually 2 Orthodox priests, high fathers, to try to ratchet down the online stuff. I don't get into like Orthodox like skirmishes, but with my Catholic brothers and sisters, yeah, it gets intense because.
Yeah, you do. I've seen you like.
I'm sorry.
I'm exposing the Catholic Church, and I've seen you do that.
Yeah, but I think I think I've done it enough.
Okay.
I mean, how many times are you going to talk about a gay mass or a pedo
Right.
priest or a corrupt bishop? I think people that want to know, and I think people that just want to stick their head in the sand are just going to keep it in the sand.
Gotcha.
So it
Doesn't do any good, much good.
yeah, I think at a point it doesn't. I just think, I mean, because we're like, we're over 20 years out from Boston and Spotlight and the movie and all that stuff. I mean, if Catholics that don't know that, I mean, I don't know where they're coming from. I think they're just trying to make the best of it. But you can make the best of it and not be in denial, So you can do both. You can do both at the same time.
We might have a question in the chat here. Someone says, I have a question. Orthodox Phronesis. Oh, question is, do you listen to Orthodox talks by Father Cosmas?
I don't know him. I'm sorry.
He's the Australian monk priest.
Oh yeah. I'm familiar with him. I'm sorry. I don't listen to a lot of.
Okay. Well, he is very good.
Okay.
I would highly recommend people listen to those talks.
I like Jay Dyer. I like Father Moses McPherson. I think you've had him on. I like Abbot Trifon up in Washington. I like Father Deacon Ananias. What do I listen to a lot? I don't know. I like them. And I've gotten to know them, so they're all good guys. Oh, Father Whiteford. I like him a lot. I listen to him quite a bit.
Had most of these people on my channel.
Oh wow, that's awesome.
Yeah.
There's a priest that's been very good to me. He's an OCA priest, Father Photius Avant, in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, and he's very good. He's got like I like his style. He's got like a quiet kind of. He just kind of does his thing and posts it to Facebook. Posts his I don't know what in Catholicism they're called like a homily or a sermon or something. So he posts those things, but he's just going along, steady. Converting people. Big baptisms, lots of people. I like him a lot. He's just a very good man, solid.
The two podcasts that I would recommend people to listen to are the Orthodox talks by Father Cosmas, and you could just spend a year. The talks are like 4 hours long, so there's plenty of material there.
I'll write that down.
The other one I recommend is the homilies of Athanasios Mytileneos, elder. I think that's his. Yeah,
I don't know who that is.
He is a Greek. He was a Greek. I think he was a monk. And
is he living?
I don't think so. I think he's reposed, but somebody has done a lot of work. What's his name? So is it? I don't want to say the name because I might get it wrong, but there's somebody who has translated and spent a lot of years translating and recording those talks audibly, which you can find it. The homilies of Elder Athanasios Mytileneos. Those are the two podcasts that I recommend people can just go through. And there's hours and there's hundreds of hours of really good, solid Orthodox material there. So these are, those are the two that I recommend people to listen to.
Oh, Father Hears too. I like Father Hears a lot. Father Peter Hears. I like, I'm kind of like, I'm not theological or philosophical. So, I mean, I need stuff that's simple.
Right.
But when I mean simple, I don't mean like dumb, but I mean just like stuff that's more accessible to the layman. I mean, like a lot of the conversations that like Jay Dyer has are like way over my head.
Right.
But Yeah, I think Father Hears is good. Father Hears he can talk to the common man, you know.
Yeah. I'm the same way. Absolutely.
Yeah, I don't know a lot of the lingo that they use. I don't know it. I don't
Right,
understand.
right. Well, that's like that's a realm that you have to have I think it's like a natural gift, to think in this certain, reasoning, like that's something that you're born. It's almost like well, I guess you could develop it, but people
Yeah,
have a tendency to be able to think that way. So I'm the same as you.
I agree. I agree.
Yeah.
But I appreciate people that can do that and have those conversations because I think they're important. But yeah, not me. I mean, that's where I think Father Jose Trenum has been good too because he just speaks
Oh yeah.
very plain English.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah.
So if I have like a Catholic friend who writes to me a question about Orthodoxy, usually I'll send them something from Father Josiah. Not that I think they're dumb or anything, but just that I think he speaks on a very plain English kind of level
Yeah.
that I can understand. I think most people, especially if you have like no experience.
Yeah. That's called. I think his podcast is The Arena, right? Which is.
I don't recall.
Yeah, I think publishes his Sunday homilies. That's good too, and he also patristic nectar.
Yeah.
They have a lot of talks that has been recommended to me that you have to pay for most of them. Some are free, but you can go to Patristic Nectar and purchase some quality educational material.
Those are good to share, and he's done quite a bit of stuff on the LGBT stuff too, because I know a lot of Orthodox haven't, just because I don't think they're afraid. But
yeah, I think
he's done a lot.
He did a whole series on it. Yeah.
Yeah. So if I've shared stuff from an Orthodox point of view, it's been that.
Gotcha.
Just because he's done it, but it's also good.
Yeah. Yep.
And I know he had a dust up too with somebody that was bothering him. What was that? Orthodoxy. It was somebody associated with the Fortimites.
Oh,
I know he's had a battle with that too.
Huh, I didn't see that one.
Oh yeah, God bless him. So.
Okay, well, thank you for coming on. God bless you.
Oh, you're welcome. Oh, and Father Hopko's book too. Father, what was God rest his soul? What was Father Hopko's first name? But he was an OCA priest. He did a book on same-sex attraction.
Oh, okay. So you recommend
Orthodox. That? Father Hopko's book. Let me see if I've got it right here.
Sure.
God rest his soul. I never knew him, but let's see. It's not a big book. Here it is. So Thomas Hopko. I'm sorry, Father, I forgot. Christian Faith and Same-Sex Attraction. I think it's actually pretty darn good. Oh, it's from Ancient Faith Publishing. And
so what is the basic premise?
He's coming from a pastoral level. So as a priest, so he was trying to, I think, talk to priests specifically. Maybe I'm wrong. He's not here. Okay. But I think he was trying to help priests maybe to be caring and maybe compassionate with these people.
Yeah.
But also to be very fatherly and to help guide these people. Because maybe some priests would be uncomfortable, like somebody.
Right. So you don't let's say a gay couple shows up to your parish, and says, we want to be Orthodox, what do you do? What does the priest do? What should you do if you're another parishioner? What is your reaction?
I think I've talked to priests about this. Thank God I'm not a priest, because that's tough. I think they just say, come to liturgy, but of course you can't take part in the Eucharist.
Right.
And if you're really serious about being Orthodox, you're going to have to make some hard decisions.
Right.
Yeah, and maybe they won't say that on day one.
Yeah, you wanna you know,
But
you want to kind of reel them in
if you're on day
slowly,
two,
because if you want to be baptized, you'd have to leave. You know, there can be no living in sin. You know, so you'd want to be try to be gentle. I suppose. Don't condemn them, or I don't know. But I don't know how to. It's never happened. I don't think that I know of in my parish. So I don't.
and I've talked to priests, but the danger with people like that is maybe they'll seek out a priest that will affirm them, and
Yeah.
in Catholicism that ain't going to be hard to find.
Yeah.
It'll probably take you 5 minutes.
I'm sure
Now,
it probably.
Orthodoxy, it'll be probably much more difficult.
Yes, that's the most. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure you know you hear horror stories, so I'm sure that if they looked long and hard, they might be able to find someone who is accommodating. But probably it'd be much more difficult than it would be anywhere else.
I agree. So that's always the worry with people like that they'll do something like that.
Right.
You know.
Another question from Orthodox Phronesis: have you considered monasticism?
No. I did when I was Catholic. I did. I was in a monastery for a while.
Oh, what?
When I was
Which one?
Benedictine.
Huh.
So I was actually living with some priests. That's another story. Back east, I went over to Foncombeau, which is a Benedictine monastery over in France for a while, and
cool.
Worked with priests. Never actually like officially like entered.
Yeah.
Like as a novice, or no, it would have been like a postulant. But yeah, I did consider monasticism, but in Catholicism, there's a lot of issues with homosexuality, so it's a big problem. Now I'm too old.
Are you familiar with the Dominican priory down in Berkeley, or do you know about that one?
Yes.
You do?
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. I had so I was traveling recently. I went down to my brother's wedding reception, and a Dominican friar sat next to me on the airplane. And it turned out that he was going to this Dominican. His name was Dominic, who was going to back home to his Dominican priory, and it turned out to be in the same neighborhood of where my B&B was that I was going to stay at. And so he gave me a ride from the airport. So he showed me. It was actually a beautiful campus. They had this grove in the back, like this, you know.
I know it.
Yeah, that was pretty kind of interesting.
The Dominicans out here are they're pretty good. They're swerving towards being more conservative.
Nice.
It's hit and miss. You know, they've tried. It's complicated. It's complicated because in the Catholic Church, even if you're trying to do good things, you're still kind of like captive within this system that is corrupt, and it's tough. You could do it, but
come home.
Yeah, I agree. I don't
come
know.
home to Orthodoxy.
I don't know what the point is anymore. It's just because you've got a pope who could wake up one day and say, I think I'm gonna, tell all the Latin Mass people to stay home. It's just, or I'm gonna bless 2 gay dudes.
Right.
Or two lesbians. So, and this is going on throughout the United States. I get calls from Catholics all the time, like, Joe, what do I do? I was like, I don't know. Write your bishop. But what's the bishop going to do? Because the Pope said it's okay. So find a new parish. I don't know. Yeah, be Orthodox. That's a bridge too far for most Catholics.
Sure.
Because yeah, that's crazy for them,
Right.
Especially if you've been Catholic and your whole family's Catholic, that's the big.
Yep.
That's a big deal.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cultural. Yeah.
Oh, it's Can't do it. Just can't do it. I've talked to Catholics all the time that are like, I'm sick of the Catholic Church. I'd love to be Orthodox, but I can't do it. Can't do it. Just logistically, they can't do it.
Another question from Steven. Can Joseph get in touch with and interview Angelina Lazar? She is a nun with Serbian Church. She is personal friend with Donald Trump and very, very colorful character. You forgot to mention that you have a YouTube channel.
I do.
You didn't mention that. So you do interviews yourself.
Yeah. What's her name?
Sister Angelina Lazar.
Oh, I never heard of her.
I might write this down. Steal your idea.
Okay. I'll talk to anybody.
Got it. If we want to ask, another question. If we want to ask you how your listening has been going with Orthodox talks, how can we write you? So this person really wants you to listen to these talks, and then he wants you to. So how can people get in touch with you?
Oh, through either my social media accounts or my website.
Yeah, that's how I contact him. He has a contact form on his website there, and there's a link in the description below for his website. So,
but I check the messages and the on Twitter and Facebook. So
Twitter and Facebook.
Yeah,
okay.
Twitter's like really easy, I think, to message people.
Okay, so yeah, good. Thank you everyone for the questions. Those were some good questions. I think we've had a good conversation here. So I've been dusting off I was a little rusty. I haven't been streaming much lately. I don't know why that is. I just got lost. It takes quite a bit to, of motivation to get. I was really motivated for a couple years to do all these interviews, and it's a lot of work to do this online thing.
It's a lot of prep work
and just time, and and I'm kind of, you run into a few. It's pretty easy to lose motivation and get a little discouraged if you have a few bumps along the way. It's not really worth it, honestly. I feel like I'd much rather just spend time quietly praying, but I'm doing this as a service. So anyhow, thank you all for watching. Thank you to Joseph, and that's the end of the stream. We'll catch you next time.
You're welcome.